Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee. I'm really happy that all of you were able to join. I know that the virtual option was going to be very popular tonight because we have some frightful weather outside. A few of us also made it in person. So hopefully not only to hear what we have to say, but also check out some really good library books. So hopefully between all of this and our special presenters tonight, we're going to have a really good call. I'm Jennifer Cardillo. I am the chairperson of the Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee. We're going to start off today's meeting with some introductions of everyone. I have a daughter who's over at Tollgate. It's her senior year, which is, just absolutely amazing that she has made it to this point. And she will be entering the transition program through Warwick schools. So we'll do a roundtable in the room first for everybody to introduce themselves, and then we'll go on to the call. So Caitlin?
I'm Caitlin Regan. I am an elementary LEA representative at Cedar Hill and the secretary of the committee.
Bridget Camacho, a parent. My son goes to Oakland Beach Elementary.
Thanks for coming. So,
my name is Sarah Bechtel. I'm a TA at Norwood Elementary School right now. I also have 2 daughters at Norwood and 1 at Beck.
okay, great. All right. And before we continue, for everyone on the call, were you able to hear everyone in the room?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right, why don't we start at the top? Caitlin, I'll have you help me do the roundtable. I can see some folks and not others. So Alyssa, we'll start with you.
Hi, Alyssa Breyer, parent of a Hoxie kindergartner.
Excellent. And we have a mystery guest who's under Broke U91. I know, I'm actually thinking I should adopt that username.
Hi, it's an old, I don't know how to change my name. My name is Michael Burgard. I have a daughter at Cedar Hill. She's in 2nd grade.
Excellent, and we love the username. David?
Good evening. Dave Allenbach. I'm one of the directors of special services for Warwick.
All right, excellent. And Carrie Walker?
Carrie Walker, Warwick Transition Program.
Okay, Leah?
Leah Hazelwood, Vice Chair, Warwick School Committee.
Okay, Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary Herman. I'm with the Rhode Island Department of Health and the Rhode Island Parent Information Network, and I primarily work with the Rhode Island Special Needs Emergency Registry.
Okay. Thank you, Mary, and we're happy you were able to join tonight.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Megan?
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a special educator at Lippitt.
Okay. Melissa?
Hi, my name is Lamoth. I am a speech language pathologist at Park Elementary School. I am also the parent to a Wyndon 7th grader.
Okay. Excellent. Hi, Melissa. Veronica?
Hi, I'm Veronica Curley, and I'm a parent of a 3rd grader at Scott.
Right. Well, everyone, we have a really nice turnout tonight. There's a lot of parents on the call. I'm really glad that you're here. And we have a bit of change in our agenda tonight, but that will be ongoing, but for the better. Before I get into the change in the agenda and everything that we'll have moving forward, I just want to go over some of the basic, rules of the road for everyone who is here. And I know for some of you, this is an absolute repeat, but we'll go through them anyway. I think I might have a slide with them on, Caitlin, if it's able to come up. Oh, we have another person. Hi.
New person here.
We're doing introductions. You're at the tail end, so you get to introduce yourself on the fly.
Perfect timing.
Amazing. So good. Oh, now?
Yeah.
Okay, hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Mimi, and I have a 9-year-old 4th grader at Oakland Beach. And I don't know, I still can't remember the name. How do you hold the classroom? Self-contained?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess you can hold self-contained. And we've been in Warwick ever since she was in preschool. And
I am a teacher, a fifth grade teacher by trade at a private school in East Providence, and I have a particular interest in disability advocacy. I actually teach a year-long unit to my students all about disability rights and advocacy and accessibility, and I'm glad to finally get my butt here. It's been like 2 years and I get all of your emails, and my life is just so busy, but I'm here. Yay.
Yay, excellent.
What was your last name again?
It's Roteman, that's Roterman, and it's Mimi, Mimi.
Well, we were very happy you were able to come tonight, so
Me too.
you made it through the wild weather that we're having. So the first thing I'm going to do tonight is just have a brief overview of our group norms, just because we do have some new attendees, which I'm so delighted you're here. The Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee is rather unique. We recognize that everyone walking through this door has had their own unique experience, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a guardian, a teaching assistant, or somehow impacted by students with disabilities within the Warwick School District and within the overall community. And because of that, we encourage everyone to participate fully, but also recognize that all of us have had a unique journey, and that brings a lot of different perspectives to the table. Some of them that you might have shared, and some of them that you're like, oh wow, that's very different, that it might not be something that you necessarily understand, and that's totally okay. What we want to be able to do is to all understand and learn from each other, and be genuine as we're asking questions and asking with inquiry and support as we're doing that. We also tend here to be very, very respectful, listen to what everyone has to say, understand their perspective, but also be a little careful here too. One of the things with this particular space is that we're not here to solve individual problems. That's something that you should be bringing up with your education team, with your case manager, or with special services, depending on the circumstances involved. But we are here to talk about school policy, about issues that impact this particular community, so that we all get a better understanding and leave here learning a lot more and being able to rely on each other too. So, any questions about our group norms, how we operate, anything along those lines? Excellent. Then what I'd like to do next is to go through the meeting minutes. I believe that's the next part of the agenda. Is that correct, Caitlin?
That is.
Okay. So we're going to do our meeting minutes next, and then if everyone both in the room and on the call is comfortable with it, I'd like to propose a change in the agenda tonight and move up our outside speaker from the Rhode Island Department of Health, who is Mary Herman, so that we can hear what she has to say. Would everybody be comfortable with that approach of just switching our agenda? If you could raise your hand or, show it virtually. Okay, excellent. And we will end up switching our agenda tonight. And we'll also make sure that, everyone has a chance to speak, and Mary has a nice presentation to share. Okay, so Caitlin's in the room passing out the hard copies of the previous meeting minutes. And then we're gonna bring those up on the screen also, just so that those on the call can take a look at those. What we generally do during this section is take about 2 to 3 minutes to scroll through those meeting minutes. And occasionally there might be a correction that needs to be made, but what we'd like to just make sure is that we've got a good understanding that this represents what we had discussed previously, and that we're comfortable with what's being represented. So we're going to start scrolling now, and then if there's any questions, just speak up.
See if I can make sure it's actually visible here.
And can everyone on the call see the minutes? I know we're having a little bit of a computer orientation issues here.
This mouse is terrible.
Maybe Santa will bring you a nice gift.
There we go. I think that's better.
Okay.
Does that show it better? Yeah, I can see it all.
Okay. All right, so we're going through the first page of the meeting minutes now.
If anybody sees anything they have any questions on or need corrections to, I can make that as we go.
Can I ask details about something that is?
Absolutely.
Because I wasn't there. It's a, there's a goal to provide year-long professional development. Well, what was that specifically professional development on?
David, you're on the call. Are you able to hear the question?
Am I being too?
I heard professional development. That's all I heard. What was the
Yeah,
question?
what was it specifically professional development on?
There wasn't anything specific. I think there's a lot of categories that they're going to be worked on this year.
Can I get an example of one? Is that possible?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So one of them would be co-teaching. Some others would be like IEP 101. So looking at procedures, policies, making sure that everything is done correctly. I mean, there's a number of things.
Okay.
Working on.
Thank you.
I'll add that in there to the notes just so they're moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, so we just made an amendment to the meeting minutes from last time just to add a couple clarifications on some of the items that could be used as examples for the year-long professional development.
And it should show up right
Yeah,
in
and you should see that on your screen too. Okay, we're moving on to the second page now. Okay, we're moving into new business now at the bottom of the second page. And we're on the last page of the meeting minutes. Are there any other additions, changes, or anything to the meeting minutes? Then I'd like to have a motion to accept the meeting minutes from last month. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Awesome. All right. Normally at this time, we go into the Director of Special Services report. We are going to switch that over tonight. I've had some previous conversations over email with the Rhode Island Department of Health to ask whether they might be able to come in to talk about the special needs registry with us. So, and that's the service that's being offered across all of Rhode Island for families that have special needs, have a child with special needs, adult with special needs, elderly, and et cetera. So what I thought it might be helpful is to have our representative Mary talk about those services that are offered through the special needs registry. I'm going to share my own personal story of how our family benefited from those services during a time of emergency in Rhode Island, just to share some additional perspective. And Mary is here to answer any questions that you have about this subject. So Mary, we're going to turn the floor over to you, and you do have a presentation. Is she able to share that?
I don't think Google shares.
Okay, well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, I think so. I have done one in Google before. I am not like the most technologically savvy, but I think I'm gonna try and see. I think if I do present now, I should be able to select what screen. So if you guys are okay with me trying, I can try to show that. Let me see here.
We're always up for some experimentation
Again,
in the middle of our meetings.
I can't make any promises. Usually I'm kind of learning on the fly when it comes to kind of Zoom, Teams, Google. So I'm sometimes a little rusty. So let's see here. Okay, I think I can.
Oh, wow, excellent. It's coming up. We
And
can see the presentation on our end.
Okay, can you see that screen like that?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Now
Same thing for everyone online. Can you see the presentation?
Okay.
Excellent. So Mary, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role before you get started and, what's brought us here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. And just a forewarning, I can only see my presentation. So if someone's raising a hand or something like that, just kind of shout it out just because I haven't quite gotten advanced enough yet that I can see the meeting and the screen. So I can only see the presentation. So if someone has a question, please feel free to just kind of, shout it out, and we can absolutely kind of talk things through as I'm going through this. But my name is Mary Herman. I am with the Rhode Island Department of Health, and I actually work with them through the Rhode Island Parent Information Network, or RIPEN, if anyone's familiar with them. And I primarily work with this program here. It's the Rhode Island Special Needs Emergency Registry, or RISNR, as it's affectionately known, kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit more. And today we're going to go into, or this evening, we're going to go into a little bit more kind of specifics about how the program kind of works and different ways to sign up and things like that. So again, if I start talking really fast, sometimes I talk a mile a minute. Please feel free, just say, hey, can you just slow down, go over that again? Or again, if there's any questions or if anyone has any experience with it, please feel free to share. That always kind of helps everyone learn more about it. So here we go. Okay, so what is RISNR? The Rhode Island Special Needs Emergency Registry, or RISNR, is a free and voluntary statewide registry. It's managed by the Rhode Island Department of Health, and it's used by Rhode Island municipalities across the whole state to assist in emergency preparedness planning. So it's been around since 2007 when RIDO and the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency recognized that the 39 municipalities in the state didn't have the resources to manage independent registries for those with special healthcare needs. So in response, the two agencies partnered to develop a statewide registry, or RISNR. And today, RISNR is used by municipalities across the state to assist in emergency planning and the identification of Rhode Islanders with access or functional needs, as well as chronic conditions. So each Rhode Island municipality is encouraged to identify individuals, typically in police, fire, EMS, as well as emergency management teams, to complete RISNR training and gain RISNR user access for their municipality. So these RISNR users then have protected access to the list of RISNR enrollees located within their municipality and can use this secure list to assist enrollees during an emergency. So RISNR users have permissions to search and download RISNR data in PDF, CSV, and Code Red form. And then they can also update individual records and add new RISNR registrations as necessary. So we're going to go over a couple of different features that are available through RISNR. So first is the 911 connection. So if an individual calls 911 from a phone
Mary,
number.
I wanted to tell you, if you're trying to move the slides, they're not moving.
Okay, did it not go over to the RISNR features?
No.
Huh. Well, it did on my screen, so let's see here. Let's see if I...
We might have thought it was working.
Your mouse is moving.
Yeah.
It's not moving on the
You
screen.
can see your mouse moving.
Okay, here, let's see. me stop sharing and I'll just try and do it again, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Do. Okay. We were such a strong start there, and then, it gave up on me.
There was enthusiasm.
Let's see. I also apologize in advance. My lights just kind of dimmed a little bit, so I'm a little worried that you might suddenly, I might suddenly lose power. But we're gonna stay positive. Let's see.
Okay, now it looks like it's on slide 3.
Okay. Are all 3 of these showing now? 911?
Yes, the 911, exactly. Those are showing. So hopefully it'll keep moving.
Okay. Let's hope. We'll see. Maybe we'll just have to kind of start and stop a couple of times, but we'll see. Okay. So going back to our Reisner features, it does have a couple of different features. So first is our 911 connection. So if an individual calls 911 from a phone number that is active in Reisner, the Reisner enrollee's top 3 health conditions will scan across the 911 operator's screen. And then this information is relayed to local dispatchers to assist in responding to the emergency. So it can help first responders better prepare for the needs of an individual before they arrive to the home. For example, in some municipalities, first responders will dim lights and sirens upon the approach of a home where an individual with autism lives. It also is used for preparedness and response. So during emergencies, trained municipal Reisner users can use Reisner as a tool for planning and response purposes. Some municipalities have used Reisner to conduct wellness checks on enrollees in their community. So, for example, phone calls before a storm or door-to-door checks after a disaster. In real life example, it was used in January in 2019. When Newport had a citywide gas outage, so first responders were able to use that Reisner data to identify community members with healthcare needs and go and do those door-to-door checks. So they were able to use that list effectively in that kind of real-life scenario. And then the GIS, or Geographic Information System feature, is kind of an ever-evolving feature of Reisner that we're still kind of working with, but it's basically a mapping feature. So the mapping feature allows first responders to identify a specific area of an incident, so they can map that out and populate the list of enrollees who are in that area, so they can more effectively get to who is being directly, impacted if there's something that's just happening in one specific area of a municipality. Okay, moment of truth if it shows the next slide.
We may or may not have an exciting change here.
Does it say who can enroll in Reisner?
No.
No. Okay. Let's see. I'm not sure why this isn't working.
The other
here.
option is to have her mail it to you really quickly.
So something else I could do is, can you guys see it like this?
Yes.
Okay, so I can go through it this way, if that's easier, and then just kind of have the slides like that. Or
It just flipped.
It worked.
Okay,
It's
so
just
I'll just
taking about 20 to 30 seconds for it to come up on our side. So maybe you just have to flip a little earlier when you go through.
Okay,
But it's
no
going.
problem.
Hooray.
So I'll give it a second. So we'll just keep it like this then, if that's
Yeah.
okay with you guys.
I'm good with that.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So who can enroll in Reisner? So Reisner is for individuals of all ages. It's infants through seniors who live in Rhode Island and have a functional access need, chronic condition, or any other healthcare need that would, want to enroll in the registry. We often say that a Reisner enrollee may be fine on the day-to-day, but might need additional assistance during an emergency. So for example, in the case of large-scale flooding or a snowstorm, Reisner is a resource that a municipality can use to identify individuals in the community who may require assistance, such as ensuring an individual can still attend critical healthcare treatment, such as dialysis, or has enough oxygen to shelter safely at home. So Reisner looks to enroll people who live on their own or with caretakers or family or friends, or who live in a group home. We don't typically enroll those living in nursing homes just because they have kind of robust emergency management procedures for those communities, and they have access to individuals' medical information as well. So we don't typically enroll those who do live in nursing homes. And you can self-identify, or you can register on behalf of family and friends just with their consent. Don't, just enroll somebody and not tell them. It would just have you at the bottom kind of identify what your relationship is with that person if you are enrolling on behalf of somebody else. So, parent, child, sibling, kind of whatever, caretaker, whatever their relationship may be.
And we do have a question from Alyssa, Mary.
Yes.
Hi, quick question. Is this a private and secure kind of a registry? So like everything you share will not be able to be shared anywhere else or anything, right?
Yeah, so we will go over the kind of data security portion of it, but it is HIPAA compliant, and it's it is on a secure database. So the information is only available to like the first responders and the emergency managers who have that access, who have that protected access, and then like the Risner managers actually if they're inputting somebody's information. So with the only kind of time you'll hear from us is we'll send out a mailing. If you do want to do any updates, that's usually just once a year. But other than that, it's not being used for, anything other than providing assistance.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have a second question from our nifty handle of Broke U91.
Yeah, sorry, I still can't change my name on that. So, you mentioned that people in nursing homes can't be enrolled. What about individuals who live in assisted living facilities or independent senior housing?
Yeah, so for independent senior housing, typically they can enroll. For assisted living, it depends on the like level of care that the community offers. So like they're kind of on a case by case basis for assisted living because different levels of care are offered based on the actual assisted living itself. So yeah, that would be a little more of a case by case. Does that answer that? I don't know if that.
Did that answer your question?
So if someone was in, say, a memory care assisted living facility, they probably wouldn't qualify, I suppose. But if somebody was in a general assisted living facility, they could. Is that?
They could. So they could potentially, again, depending on the level of care that's available. So it would kind of be a case by case.
Okay, sorry. I know this has nothing to do with our
Oh
students,
no,
but
all
I was just
questions,
curious
all
about this.
questions are great. Yeah, no, all
All right.
No,
questions.
we want everybody to ask questions during this. This is important stuff. So to that point, if you have any other questions during the presentation, just please raise your hand just like you did. And because we want to make sure while Mary's here that she's able to answer any questions, concerns, etc.
Yeah, and if it's something that I can't answer or I'm not sure, then absolutely we'll touch base after this, and I can always I'll check in with my supervisors. Maybe it's just something that's above my level of knowledge, and I'll make sure to get that information back to you all.
That sounds very fair.
All right, perfect. Okay, so before I kind of go off of this slide, is there any questions here?
Any additional before she continues? We know we'll have a little bit of delay, so we'll,
All right, I'll click it and give it time to catch up. So.
No, we're good.
Okay. So before we continue, it's just important to emphasize what's on this slide here. So please remember that Risner does not guarantee assistance. So that's just kind of a critical thing for Risner enrollees and community members, just to kind of have that understanding. Risner is a tool that's available to Rhode Island first responders that can help municipalities plan for, prepare for, and respond to the needs of individuals in the community. So enrollment helps keep individuals with healthcare needs on the local first responders' radar and helps first responders prioritize whatever resources may be available in an emergency. So the next slide will talk about some different ways that, while we can't guarantee assistance, it has been used effectively across the state. Okay, so while Reisner can't guarantee assistance, it has been successfully used to provide assistance and resources to enrollees across Rhode Island. So on this slide, you can see a list of some of the best practices that Rhode Island municipalities have established to address community needs using Reisner. So some of these best practices include wellness checks. So those can be either in person or over the phone. It kind of depends on the size of the area that they're kind of covering. Sometimes it'll be, smaller places. They can actually go door to door. Some municipalities have transported enrollees to local shelters, provided backup fuel for generators, and have replaced oxygen canisters to assist enrollees dependent on oxygen during an emergency. We actually even had a municipality put a generator on the back of a truck and drive to the enrollee's home, and they left the truck parked to be able to kind of sit outside and recharge life-sustaining equipment batteries so that they could shelter safely at home if it's safer for them to stay at home rather than evacuate, or if there's a loss of power, what the situation may be. So this is kind of just a small list of different ways that it's been used, but it's kind of just, a good example of different ways that it's been able to be used across the state.
And this is where I'll share my own personal example just to give everyone some perspective. I can't remember which hurricane it was. It was either Hurricane Irene or Hurricane Sandy, one of the two. There was a lot of severe flooding in Rhode Island, including in my neighborhood. And the main road on West Shore Road was going to be cut off by flooding for a few hours. I think it was like 4 to 6 hours. And emergency services was not going to be able to get to our family. So because we were on this registry, it was one of the, I had been informed about it at another public meeting when my daughter was really young. The Warwick Police and Fire stopped by our house before we were going to get cut off to let us know that there was going to be a problem. They weren't going to be able to get to us. And they gave us the option of either staying and sheltering in place or going to the local shelter for at least a few hours until the flooding had passed. We elected to stay in place because our daughter was feeling, good at that point. We were having, we just felt that was the best and least stressful decision. But they do those type of checks under that wellness checks piece to help you make a decision on whether you actually do need to leave, because you're not going to be able to get the support that you need. So.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so with those best practices, now we go a little bit into how to actually enroll in Reisner. So there's a couple of different ways. So this is a picture of the actual paper enrollment form. It is two-sided. So, if you are doing paper, just, make sure to flip it over. So there is a paper form that can be completed and then mailed into the Department of Health. You can't really see it on this slide, but it's clear, like if you have the actual, hard copy, the address to mail it back into is on that paragraph that's up there at the top, just mailing it back into the Department of Health. Or you can enroll in Reisner using the secure online Reisner database, which can be accessed on the Department of Health webpage. And it's just the health.ri.gov/em registry. And then that is also on the actual paper form. Or if you just go onto, the Department of Health website and emergency, registry, you should be able to find it. So the enrollment form collects demographic information for each enrollee and allows individuals to identify their healthcare need and any additional assistance that may be required on the day-to-day basis. So enrollees can include information related to their living or housing status, so whether or not they live on a third-floor apartment or live in Rhode Island seasonally, and transportation situation. And then finally, the enrollment form includes emergency contact information as well as the consent to share personal data entered in Reisner with local and state emergency responders to assist in emergency response. So with the enrollment form, there is also a section to kind of capture the enrollee's medical history. So the enrollment form kind of breaks it down into 5 main categories. So life support systems, this would be things such as oxygen tanks, respirators, or other durable medical equipment. Mobility conditions, so enrollees can indicate if they use a wheelchair, walker, cane, or any other assistive equipment. Sensory conditions, this category allows enrollees to identify if they have a visual impairment or a hard of hearing. cognitive, psychiatric, neurological, and muscular conditions. In this section, an individual can indicate if they have a cognitive delay, Alzheimer's disease, autism spectrum disorder, PTSD, OCD, depression, anxiety, and or other mental health conditions. And then lastly, the Reisner enrollment form includes an open text field, so individuals can describe other healthcare needs. For example, in this section, we'll often see enrollees will list things like CPAP machines or nebulizers, hypertension, or other details in their living situation. So if you're going through the form and you're not seeing what it is that you would like to have in the registry, you can always write it in or type it in, and it will be a part of your registration. So however much medical information somebody puts is completely voluntary. So any information that you put is voluntary on this form. The whole database is voluntary, but there are a couple of fields that do have to be filled out to be able to be processed. So required fields are going to be your full name, date of birth, street address, and then the next slide is just your consent to enroll. And then what I was talking about, where if you're enrolling on behalf of somebody else, this is where you'd indicate that. So it just says if you're completing the form on someone's behalf, just indicate your relationship to that individual. So those are just the sections that do have to be filled out to be able to process the enrollment. But any other information that you put is completely voluntary. And then these next couple of slides, it just kind of shows that it's the same thing as online. If you're doing it online through the website, it's all the same information. There's going to be like little red asterisks on the things that have to be checked off or filled in to be able to submit it. But it's all the same information. Let me make sure I'm clicking through all these. Okay. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, but just, kind of delving into, of course, if we're talking about kind of these databases, data security is going to be, top of mind. So the Reisner team is dedicated to ensuring the security of all data entered into the Reisner database. Reisner is protected and only available to a select few emergency responders in each municipality. Each Reisner enrollee consents to share their information with local and state emergency responders to better assist them during emergencies. So that's that last little section that you fill out, that is kind of, you're saying, hey, it's okay for my information to be shared with these local and state emergency responders to, be able to provide any assistance. Reisner is also HIPAA compliant. So the Reisner database is stored on a secure server under dual password protection. The Reisner program uses encrypted devices to access the database, and we have established procedures to ensure the proper and secure disposal of any documents that include personal health information. So RIDO also regularly reviews the Reisner data for duplications and incomplete information. So constantly, making sure that we're going through the database, making sure the data is as up to date as possible. And the Reisner data is reviewed against the RIDO Center for Vital Records decedents list to remove any enrollees who may have passed away during the preceding year. So the database is regularly reviewed to make sure that it's up to date. So we'll often receive questions from enrollees about how and if you can update your personal information in Reisner. Reisner individuals can update your Reisner information by completing a new enrollment form or by submitting a new registration through the online webpage. So to update your Reisner information by phone, you can call the number that's listed here and just ask to speak to a Reisner program manager. So if you do have any updates you want to make, you just submit a new enrollment. And then because we're always going through it, the most recent enrollment form that's submitted is the one that will be your registration. And then renewing an enrollment information in Reisner each year is not required. So RIDO has systems in place to make sure enrollee information stays current, such as the annual mailing, CVR data reconciliation, and deduplications. As we mentioned earlier, you may submit a new registration or contact the Reisner team through the website to update your information at any time. So we do send out a mailing to all current enrollees annually for information updates. So this mailing allows for Reisner team to update records with new addresses, health information, and remove records of individuals who may have passed away or moved out of state. And lastly, and very importantly, Reisner is a voluntary registry. So as such, enrollees or family members or guardians of enrollees can always contact the Reisner team at any time and request a Reisner enrollee's removal from the registry. So if you decide, hey, this isn't something I want to be on anymore, we can always just take you off. So if you are interested in ordering Reisner program materials, so we have brochures, enrollment forms, preparedness flyers, you can always visit the Department of Health website /EM registry. And then those program materials can be ordered through the webpage and delivered free of charge. And those are available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Excuse me. Okay, so in addition to sharing information about Reisner, the Reisner team also does a lot for personal preparedness and different Reisner kind of awareness events. So personal preparedness, that is an emergency preparedness workshop that we do. We love to get out in the community and talk about emergency preparedness to as many people as we can, as many groups as we can. And it's for anyone who wants to learn a little bit more about becoming personally prepared before a disaster strikes. So it's a workshop where we talk to participants about the key principles of emergency preparedness, like having an emergency plan, making an emergency kit, and how to stay informed. And we go over some different kind of Rhode Island resources for that. And we learn specific preparedness tips in each of those kind of areas. And then we do also talk a lot about Reisner in that presentation. So it's a lot of things about like specific things that you might want in a home kit. What are some things that you're going to want in your car in case of an emergency? How to build a child kit, pet kit, really just ways to make sure that if an emergency starts to happen, you're already prepared, and it's kind of keeps the stress of the situation a little bit lower. So that's a great workshop that we've gotten a lot of great feedback from. And then we also do tabling. So if there's ever a community event going on, we love to come out and set up a table. We have enrollment forms. We answer questions about Reisner. We talk about just general emergency preparedness, and have some kind of resources and, swag items that we like to give out, little whistles and communication boards and things like that. So if there's ever any community events, we always love to go to those as well. Just kind of try and raise as much awareness about Reisner and emergency preparing as we can. So some kind of things that you can do is order Reisner brochures, encourage enrollment if you think you know people who may be interested, and just let us know if you think, hey, I think we have a group here who might benefit from this information. And then this is my information here. If you have any questions for me, or if you're like, hey, maybe I didn't get the answer that I was looking for, if you had a question or something like that, or you have more questions about presentations, anything like that, please feel free to reach out at any time. I'm always happy to talk about preparedness, Reisner, and really just anything you want to talk about. And I will.
Mary, that was incredibly thorough. I really am so glad you were able to come tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy I got to talk to everybody.
Yep, and I'm seeing the hands raised already, so we're not getting away right away. Alyssa.
Oh, no, happy.
Just one quick question. Is that PowerPoint going to be able to be shared with the email that we get later for the minutes and stuff?
Yes, we're going to do that. And also I asked Mary if she could send over a copy of some of the brochures from the Rhode Island Department of Health in this particular program, so that we could share those, and also make sure that they're available in the meeting folders that all of you will receive a link to.
Great, thank you.
Okay, can we have a question in the room?
Yeah, just a quick question. It's a scenario question, and it's okay if I can get information elsewhere if it's too specific. But I was curious about, because I don't have a landline at my home. I have my cell phone. Say for instance, I put my daughter on the registry. She's 9, she's autistic, and she makes let's say for instance, she makes a 911 phone call from my phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's not me calling, it's her, then as you said, the screen would go up and it would say something, there's an autistic person in this house. Would it flag that if I also call? It would just be from that number regardless of who's calling?
So it's connected to the actual phone number itself. So if it's if the phone call is coming from the phone number that's a part of the registry, that's what would kind of flag.
Right, so you get information. Okay, and I guess it's also connected to the address too. So all right.
Yeah. So it's, as far as I'm aware, it's only connected to the phone number. I have heard a couple people talk about maybe starting to include the address, but I'm not sure kind of where we are with that. So as far as I know, it is just the phone number that is the kind of flag that will show it to the dispatcher.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mary? either in the room or on the phone? One of the reasons that, the committee, including the members, had asked for you to come tonight, Mary, is because we never know when there's going to be a disaster that strikes. And quite frankly, not all of us know what resources are actually available to us, which is some of the whole purpose of the committee, is to make sure that we have that knowledge and awareness, and if something applies to us, that we're able to take action. And I think tonight has been a really good example of, right now, Rhode Island's not in any kind of state of emergency, but we live on a coast. We get hit by hurricanes, we get hit by blizzards, we get nor'easters that come up. So you don't know what's not necessarily going to affect your family, and at least this gives you another avenue to be prepared.
Yeah, we like to say plan on a blue sky day. So, do the planning ahead of time, and then when something is happening, then you don't have to stress about it, and you kind of have a plan in place.
Absolutely. And we have one more hand raised.
Yeah, sorry to bother you again. I'm a geriatrician and I've never heard of this program before. So how many doctors and providers know about this and recommend it to their patients? Like, how can we get that to them, me included?
So if you know of any groups that I can come and talk about this with, I would absolutely love to. We try and do as much outreach as we can. So we try and kind of find anybody in the community who kind of has these groups that might be interested in this. We go to a lot of senior centers. We've talked to different like home care. We've talked to discharge planners, trying to make sure discharge planners are aware of it if somebody received treatment and then is going home. So we try and get out to, as we go to a lot of like I said with the tabling, we go to a lot of like family events because we have found that it's really hit or miss with whether or not people are kind of aware of it. So we're always open to kind of new groups who would be interested in it. So yeah, we try and reach out to as many kind of community groups as we can, because like I said, it's for all ages all over the state. So
I get about 16 emails from the Department of Health every day, and none of them have ever mentioned this before. And we do have like a monthly grand rounds the Department of Health does,
Right.
which is like but I'm sure if someone can manage a grand rounds where they talk about resources for patients, and you can give, I mean, it's a 2 hours, so you wouldn't need 2 hours probably, but as
Right.
part of the presentation, because I've never heard of this before, and I treat patients with Alzheimer's disease, all kinds of chronic medical issues,
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you've heard of it now, I guess. So if we try and get out to as many, like I said, as many people as we can. We go to a lot of different kind of like health fairs. We go to school, kind of like networking events and stuff like that. But yeah, we try and get out to as many people as we can. So
Yeah, and maybe that's something for you to take back to your team and talk to them about. If you've got a pediatrician on the line who doesn't even have knowledge of this, then maybe there's a way to get the word out a little bit differently. Leah, I'm glad you have your hand raised. What are your thoughts?
Mary, will you be sharing your information, your contact information, so that I know I'd like to get in touch with you for something?
yeah, I can absolutely share it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And then Leah, as a follow-up, I think it might be wise if we had a conversation about whether it makes sense for the Warwick community as a whole to have something on emergency preparedness or on the special needs registry. So something to think about.
I am actually on the substance abuse task force in Warwick, where we get together once a month with multiple community health organizations. And when we do that, we're looking for things exactly like what you presented tonight, Mary. My son is also registered on this, so I know it's a valid, very important step, I think, for our community, and especially for our adults and children that have exceptionalities. So for me, I would love to see this put in more. This would even be a great training when you think about it, Dave. This would be a great training to offer to the schools on Professional Development Day, because what they get, they can give to the parents. A lot of parents are not going to come to this meeting, but almost all the parents are in touch with our teachers. Our teachers are our pipeline to the community.
Agreed. And Jennifer had mentioned about flyers. I think it'd be important at annual IEP meetings, to bring this to light.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a good idea. So Mary, we should follow up on that piece too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and what we could possibly arrange with David. So, but I'm not gonna take up any more of your time tonight. You're more than welcome to stay if you would like to, we're gonna switch into our updates from the school committee as well as from the Director of Special Services. But Mary, you're free to drop off too, but we are so happy you came tonight.
I really appreciate you guys giving me the time, and I would love all follow-ups. I would love to speak with everybody about it. Always happy to speak about Reisner. I am gonna step off because I think I have an 8-month-old that I think I just heard wake up. So I am gonna step off. But I hope you guys have a great night, and it's crazy weather tonight, so I hope everyone stays safe as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good
This was
night.
wonderful.
Bye.
All right. At this point, we're going to switch over to you, David, for this Director of Special Services report.
Sure. Good evening again, everybody. But before I begin, I noticed in the notes, Jennifer, you had requested a formal presentation about the update from the LEAs, the LEA buildings. After the last meeting, I'd sent you an update report. I don't know if that got sent to the SEAC community or not. That report is pretty comprehensive, and I'd be happy to, if anybody has any questions about that report, send them to me or send them to Caitlin and Jennifer, and we can address them at the next meeting.
Absolutely. So why don't we, for this time, make sure that that's part of the meeting minutes tonight, as well as send that out with the meeting recording, and we'll make sure that the community gets that information.
Great. In addition, professional development was mentioned earlier. I don't have our initiative list in front of me, but off the top of my head, a couple things that we're looking at are the specific learning disability ID, the new regulations that came out, new forms that came out. So we're using that for professional development. Least restrictive environments. We want to make sure that teams are informed when they're making placement decisions. Special education law, to include regulatory timelines and things like that. So there's that, to name a few of the things that we're working on. I think there were some in that report that I had sent you last time as well. But that, to name a few, that's a couple things. As far as updates, there's not much since last time we met. We did have a successful round of interviews for a new school social worker, as well as successful rounds for hiring new teaching assistants. And I want to take the opportunity to thank Ms. Hazelwood and her colleagues on the school committee for always supporting special education students. I think that's it from my office. If you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions either in the room or on the phone for David tonight?
No, in previous meetings, I think you had asked for an update on the school support visit. Do you want to put that in January? Or?
Yeah, why don't we put that into January? So we'll have that down too. And then David, for any follow-up questions on the LEA report, we'll put that in there also.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Leah, I know there is quite a bit going on in the school district, having attended the school committee meeting last night. So I'm definitely looking forward to you sharing your update with our community.
Well, our biggest initiative right now is getting the high schools in on budget. So last night, it wasn't a good meeting for me. I hate when we have to cut things. And that's what it was all about last night. Accepting a 15-page document. You guys didn't see it, but it was actually a 15-page document filled with cuts. And we had to go through them and find what we would see to be the most important things to add back into those buildings. Thankfully, much of them were cosmetic things, still delivering beautiful buildings. We didn't want to take things that would take from direct services to the kids. The closer it was to the kids, the more we wanted it put back. So last night, that's what we saw in that meeting. We are expecting to begin to break ground in May. It was originally going to be in March, but because we don't think we'll have the final designs, that will have to be different from what we saw in August, somewhat different. Because of that, it'll be a 2-month delay, but we're still expecting to complete the buildings by September of 2027. So that was that. As far as the community updates with that, people can come to a forum, which will allow question and answers on January 28th at 6 p.m. And we will give our most current updates that we will have at that time and allow the community to ask questions. And that we haven't done that since before I was on the school committee. So that was that. Last night, on another note, we said goodbye to Karen Backus, who was on the school committee for 12 years. One of the longest serving elected officials in the city of Warwick. She was on for 12 years, and we said goodbye to her last night, and we will miss her. Karen has been a very strong advocate for children over the years, and actually had a lot to do with us bringing financial literacy as a high school requirement and American civics as a high school requirement. She did do work at the State House to get those initiatives passed. So for that, we are grateful. Those are things that a lot of people don't know, but she did do that. We'll be welcoming Sean Wiggins in January, and he will be a wonderful addition to our committee. I'm grateful for that as well. On one final note, we are balancing our budget for 2024. It's been a long process, but we have asked for some outside help from someone who has worked in the public sector, and we do expect to have her findings by the end of next week and know exactly where we stand, because that affects where we are going forward. We will know then, and when we know, you will know, because my dog's getting a little rambunctious here. When we know, you will know, because we have promised transparency on this committee, and we will stick by that. So that's pretty much what I have to bring this evening.
So what questions does everyone have for Leah tonight? Either on the phone or in the room. I'm going to hold mine until I know whether there's some other questions. We all know what happens when I get started. All right, Alyssa.
Sorry. Hi, Leah. I was wondering, I didn't hear you mention where the forum would be held.
Where the what?
The forum for parents to speak about the high schools or anything, where would that be held?
As of right now, it's at Vets, but that could change. It could end up at Pilgrim.
How would someone be notified, or how would someone find out about that if it was moved?
It will be posted as an agenda item. A formal agenda will go out, and that will go out about 3 days before, but I will be putting post out about it. So will the chair, Mr. Galligan, be putting post out. So you will be notified.
And I assume, Leah, that you'll be posting on the Community of Warwick Schools site on Facebook too, because I know that's a lot of times where I find out about the public meetings.
Yes, I will.
Okay, that'd be fabulous. Thank you.
Sure.
What other questions do we have on the phone?
On the what?
On either, so those who dialed in on the phone or within the room.
Okay.
Hi, Tracy.
Yes. So I don't know if this is a question for Leah or for David, actually. It's district-wide, there were a lot of changes to the special education system, and I'm curious how the district is sort of monitoring any impact of those changes, satisfaction, outcome changes, anything like that. If you could speak to that.
That would be a question for David, because
Oh,
I am not
sorry.
involved in day-to-day within the school.
Yeah,
Sorry if I missed my
we had,
chance.
That's okay.
yeah. So last meeting, I'd given kind of a brief overview of the changes and the impact. And I mentioned earlier when I was given my report that I did send an actual a pretty comprehensive report to Jennifer, and she's gonna post that. And if there's any questions that come from that, send them to me directly or send them to Caitlin or Jennifer, and we can address them at the next meeting.
Thank you for that. I apologize. I missed the last meeting.
No problem.
What other questions, either in the room, on the phone? No. So I have one comment and then one question, which I have a feeling, Leah, you're not going to be able to answer, and you're going to get back to all of us, possibly in the public forum that you'll have on the high school. So the first comment that I'm going to have is that I attended the school committee meeting last night.
Yes.
And I have to say, considering what important decisions needed to be made during that meeting, there wasn't a lot of attendance. And I actually felt really bad because it was an incredibly difficult conversation that the school committee had to have last night on decisions that were going to affect our community. So, and I actually felt bad for myself because I actually didn't read the full agenda before and some of the attachments before I got in the meeting, and then realized exactly what was going on in the state because it was that important. So one of the things that, maybe everyone to think about, we're all swamped. I'm swamped. I'm volunteering here, I'm a parent, I'm working full-time and that kind of thing. But if there's ways for you to sneak in and at least check out the meeting agendas for the school committee, then they've got everything posted 3 days before. They're pretty good at publicizing them. And you can always send an email over to Leah or to any of the representatives if you have questions or concerns and you can't make the meeting. But at least that gives you a chance to get your voice heard. I don't know if you want to add anything.
I do post the agenda ahead of time as well. So even if you don't have time to look it up, if you just go to my wall, you'll find it posted there as well. I posted in about 3 different places. So I try to make it as easy as possible, but I know people get busy. There's a lot going on, and especially this month, we have the holidays. Hoping we can get more involvement in the meetings going forward, especially after the forum that's coming up in January.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know you're going to publicize those, and hopefully everyone can either try to attend. I don't know, is there going to be a call-in also for the public forums at all, Leah?
No, there won't be.
Okay, so that'll be one that, if you can attend, that would be great. And you'll at least, have a much better understanding of what's going on with the bill for the high schools at that piece. The second question is probably one to answer during the public forum, which I'll hopefully be able to attend. But one of the areas that was cut last night was the basketball and the pickleball court, from what I remember. I believe it was either over a Pilgrim or a Tollgate. And I know that there was a discussion in terms of why, but pickleball is really popular and so is basketball. So I didn't know whether there was going to be other considerations within the actual Warwick community to make sure that there's some sports facilities that really, really appeal to a wide audience. And those were the 2 that just right off the top of my head I was a little bummed about. But, I know things need to be cut just for consideration moving forward.
I couldn't agree more. I would have liked to seen them stay, but I was told that the principals at the high schools preferred not to have them on grounds because there tends to be a lot of fist fights on the basketball courts. The boys, it's because you don't just attract your own kids from that school. You attract people even from other communities when you have nice sporting facilities. and you can't stop people from using them. That was one of the reasons that we were told. So I'd like to ask that question at the forum for sure.
You know I'm not shy, Leah. I think we'd like to have a better understanding too, just from what little bit, this is not my area of expertise, anything to do with basketball or pickleball, but but it would be nice to, maybe probe that a little bit more. Just because there are other communities in Rhode Island that have them, including on corporate campuses, which where I work actually happens to be one of them, where that basketball court is open to the community. So maybe there's some further discussion to be had.
I would love to have further discussion because I'm not in favor of those cuts. I'm not.
Yeah, appreciate it though. So that's my only plug for pickleball and basketball today.
Okay.
Any other questions for Leah? All right, thank you. That was wonderful. I know you had a really difficult meeting last night. It's never easy to make decisions about what needs to be prioritized and where there need to be cuts. So, and appreciate you keeping us updated and also giving us an opportunity as a community to attend the forum in January.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So old business.
We have membership, as usual, on our old business list.
We always have membership on our old business list. Tonight is a really good example of where we want our meetings to be. We have great participation from our teachers, from teaching assistants, from our school committee, from special services. There's parents in the room. This is actually where we want things to be, and we need this to grow. Now, for that to happen, there'll be publicity from us. We'll keep advertising our events, but it also comes to people like you who've taken the time to come and are getting something out of the meetings and hopefully can share the word. So I think that would be my ask for tonight. We're going to keep doing as best as we can to publicize this and work with the school district to get messaging out even more. But if you could help us spread the word a little bit too, that would be really helpful so that we can get more members of the community here. Oh, Alyssa?
Hi. All right. So the first time I found out about this entire committee was when they had the IEP 101 last year. That was the first one I ever had. I found out about that with a flyer that was put into the folders the kids get when they come home from my pre-K from Welk. And that's how I even found out about it. Before that, I didn't even know about this. So that's part of the problem. I would suggest if you want to increase membership and involvement, it's to get, especially for those big meetings that you think the parent turnout will be high, that you get that like some sort of a flyer or something physical in the envelopes of the parents. So get to the schools, I guess, would be my recommendation.
So David, I know we have the flyer out on the WSEAC site. I'll vouch for Tollgate at least that just because that's where my daughter's at, that they are giving out the flyer there. I think it might be worth, based on Alyssa's comment, another check to make sure that those flyers are going out. Because all you need is one school to be missed and the parents wouldn't know.
Yeah, my son goes to Oakland Beach, and I only heard about this through a meeting that I had requested with the speech therapist, and our LEA was present at that meeting, and then she suggested it. So, and my son comes home with a folder every day with, stuff every day. And it's like, if there was a flyer in there and I would have saw that, maybe it's something I would have known about earlier. Or maybe it's a goal to give it out at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, just to give people more of a chance to see it.
And they should be at each of your AP meetings, be at least mentioning the committee. And that there should be links to our brochure on every single meeting minutes that anybody receives. Hopefully everybody's getting copies of their meeting minutes. And
so I guess question here is, does that need David maybe to be reviewed to make sure that that link is actually being sent out? Like I said, I only have view at Tollgate just because that's where my daughter's at. And it would be, it sounds like maybe at least from a few of the schools, there might be some inconsistencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And that certainly I can follow up on that. But like Caitlin said, it should be something that's communicated at a minimum at the IEP meeting. And it, like she said, at the bottom of the meeting minutes, the procedural safeguards and a link to the site is there. So, but I'll make sure so we can push that out so that buildings are doing that consistently.
And why don't we do Alyssa first and then you, Mimi?
Yep.
Okay. Alyssa?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, like I said, I got it from mine when I found out this was from Welk. I've never received anything through the school at Hoxie this year. And as far as the IEP meetings, that's helpful, but you don't have them till the end of the year. So the year's over, and then you're in the summer, and then people forget. And so typically you're not having IEP meetings in the beginning of the year, this whole meeting with your case manager and the team. So it's kind of like a little late at that.
Yeah, well,
you know?
the IEP meeting annual review dates vary from student to student, but I think there should be something that goes out at the beginning of the year packet when case managers are introducing themselves, should be something that goes home to parents to remind them of that, for sure.
And then maybe to everyone's point here, we're at almost mid-year here for the school year. Maybe there's an opportunity for that information to be shared, whether it's on the individual school sites or their Facebook page or something like that. But there might be some other ways that we can get the word out that might be a little bit more visible to that community.
Yeah, I think that schools have their either their monthly or weekly newsletters that go home, and that could be something that could just be a staple that's on there continuously.
I like that.
My daughter's teacher at Oakland Beach actually has a link to it in her email signature, which was a super great reminder for me to attend, even though I signed up like a couple of years ago, but that was like a really easy fix. It was just like, if you're working, with special needs capacity and you're interacting with parents through email, just have it on that email signature.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I love that idea. That's really nice and easy.
Easy fix.
I'm also, like I just said, a big believer in spreading the word yourself, because if somebody's friends with you and they trust you and they know that you've had a really good experience, then that helps get the word out too. That's actually how I ended up at the committee in the first place, because one of my really good friends had told me about the committee, and she said, hey, why don't you show up to a meeting? And this was when my daughter was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, something like that. And I've been going ever since. So for me, this was a wonderful avenue for me to get to meet people, make new friends, and then eventually lead the committee. So it could be something that all of you are able to do too.
With regards to membership, I know we've talked in the past of having like a formalized program. Like, do we want to move forward with some type of like membership enrollment form, like maintaining a list of official members, presenting at school committee to have those members be approved? How do we want to like structure membership moving forward?
Yeah, I'd recommend that we're probably to that point. We've had a few meetings this year. Everyone who has attended has been really good about getting our contact information over to us. And we're back now on the school committee agenda regularly. So does that sound like that's a reasonable option, that we could not only present that piece, but also for any of the Warwick teachers and staff that are being recognized at this meeting, maybe bring that up at the school committee too? Does that sound feasible? Because I can do it in my presentation if we need to. This was for you, Leah. I don't know if you heard.
My dog is distracting. This little guy right here.
Just bring him in the call.
Don't stop. I'm sorry. Say that again.
So, Leah, does it make sense for us at the next school committee meeting, since the WSEAC is regularly on the agenda now, to present two things? One, the roster of new members for the school committee for awareness and just to, acknowledge, and then also to bring the recognition for any teachers and staff that are recognized during our meetings and mention them there too.
I would love it. And I know that Mr. Galligan would welcome it as well.
Yeah.
We are pretty much on the same page when it comes to the WSEAC. we love what you guys do, and you use that time however you see it best to use it.
Okay, that sounds great. Then I would say we move forward.
Our current draft form for membership has the requirements of attending regular monthly meetings, participate in committee activities, vote on issues, or even proactively. So I think maybe we start off just having anybody who has been coming regularly to meetings, sending out a membership form, and then if people are interested, having it, and then we'll just start fresh.
I think that sounds wonderful. I'm good for simple and easy when it comes to these things. Everyone on the phone, does that sound great? Everybody in the room? I'm seeing nodding heads for those of you who are showing your face. So, Alyssa, do you still have your hand raised?
Yes, I had submitted a membership application last year. I think Kate already has one, but if you need to resubmit it, that's fine. I can go ahead and email it to you.
Yes, yeah, no problem.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, excellent. What was our second piece of old business?
Presentations moving forward.
No. So I believe I had done a slide on potential outside speakers and presentations. So hopefully we can find that. This could be dangerous. We're hopeful things will be shared. I think it was the second to that. Oh, it's maybe right before that.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, excellent. All right. So I'm using this slide as a record of the programs that we've offered to the Warwick WSEAC community and our overall community as a whole, because our meetings are open to all. We've got the ones that have been completed or already scheduled. With the latest one is for the special needs registry, which was tonight. I took a look at our previous meeting minutes to see what was under consideration. I know there was a loud voice, on our last meeting on doing the facilitated and student-directed IEPs. We also talked about doing employment rights, sessions on specific learning disabilities, and we have a few of those listed. Having the Epilepsy Foundation potentially go into seizure first aid training. And I did have some folks reach out to me and ask because Carrie Walker and David had done such an amazing job on the transition night last year, whether we could hold that session again this year. So I think we have some ideas that potentially are under consideration. Is there anything else that's not on that list that anyone in the room or the call would propose? Because we are going to have an open slot moving forward in this meeting for an outside speaker to join like they did tonight. So that will be a standard part of our agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I propose just like focus on autism in terms of just there's a lot of current perspectives about that sort of undoing ideas about how to view autism, reframing of language used around autism, and I feel like it's something that's just constantly kind of moving and changing, mostly because of autistic individuals as adults advocating for themselves as opposed to parents of autistic kids, which sometimes primarily have been the voices that a lot of the time have been heard. And many autistic adults have gone through school system and talking about what really works for them. And as a parent of an autistic child, I have found myself personally the most salient and informative information that I have received through my own research has been from autistic individuals, especially those who do work in schools, who've been through school systems. So I feel like it's timely, it's important. There's amazing resources in Rhode Island, specifically on pretty like new and current ideas around how to look at autism from a neurodivergent, neurodiversity affirming point of view, as opposed to focused on behavior, trying to fix behaviors, more into the understanding of why autistic kids do what they do in the classroom, and kind of moving away from this idea of compliance as the way to kind of get them in school into more of an understanding and strengths-based approach So I would definitely propose, and
Do you
I have
any-
ideas.
I was gonna say, do you have any specific presenters in mind?
Yeah,
that you
I
know
do,
of, or-
yeah. I mean, I do, there's a great autistic consultancy duo called Autism Level Up, who specifically, so one of the is fantastic OT, the other person is autistic themselves. And they specifically go into schools, they offer a consultation, we pay for a private consultation for my daughter, but they specifically work in schools, and I think they have some great materials that I think would be super beneficial. I think specifically for parents, yes, but definitely for, teachers, teaching assistants, in terms of just really small, sometimes little tweaks to the way one approaches like an autistic child. Even the terms, what I'm using, autistic, as opposed to saying someone that has autism, that language is actually very, there are many autistic individuals that really feel strongly that it should be identity first, and that person first, and that's just something to take consideration. And especially I would recommend Autism Level Up, because they're Rhode Island based and it's autistic point of view. Someone who's neurotypical, but someone who identifies as autistic, and they're great. They're great. So
Absolutely.
I'd be happy to give connections and things like that.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. So I know we have some hand raised on the call too. I can't see the queue.
It's not on here, it's only on there.
It's only on there. Okay, so neither of us
I can see what you
So
can
if you
see.
have your hand raised, sorry, it's being blocked out by the presentation. I so apologize. Can you open your line?
I think it's Alyssa.
Yeah.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, just a quick last thing. There could be something from RI PIN, their RIPEN. Maybe they could do a presentation about the respite and pass programs that they offer.
Good one.
Those are for families that are looking for either a chaperone for their child because they work and they can't get to them to do those things after school, or respites, for like a babysitter for you to go out and have a night out. So it's for parents that can be overwhelmed, parents of disabled children that can be overwhelmed or not have a village to help them, or even a babysitter so that they can, attend other adult functions or work events or whatever. So maybe something that RIPEN can come back in and talk about is the programs that they offer for parents of disabled children as well.
That sounds wonderful. And that's a great suggestion. Thank you, Alyssa. We have two good suggestions here.
And I think we can probably work through some of these too, in identifying which ones would be able to be like a brief 1 hour part of our meeting, and which one would be like a longer presentation.
Exactly.
That we could do as like a specific presentation night and not as part of our meetings. So I think we could probably fit more things in that way.
I agree. Absolutely. Which is why we wanted the flexibility for adding the speaker directly into our meetings moving forward. Because we have, as you see, our list just grew a little bit more. And we want to make sure that we can help as many people as possible through these meetings. So I'm very cognizant of the time. We have 5 minutes left and we potentially are not going to get through our entire meeting. I'm going to agenda, but I am going to suggest that we move on to new business. If you do have any other suggestions for community presentations, please reach out to either Caitlin or me with those suggestions and we'll make sure that they're added to the list.
The only other thing I did want to just briefly address under old business was last month we had talked about putting together an acronym resource. And being able to put that on the website.
That would be fantastic.
Is that something that you want me to start to put together? Or I know, Dave, you said that you had some.
David, I think, I vaguely recall that you thought you had something for us to start with. Is that
I
accurate?
do have something to start. Caitlin, I can share that with you tomorrow when I get to the office, and
Okay.
we can have that as a kind of living document, and I'll add our 2 cents to it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, and I'll post it on the our website so that it can be like a living document, so that anytime you look at it, if there's new things that have been added, then we don't have to post it every time. It'll just be that way.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me.
Parents of the process.
Absolutely. So for
Hard to know all that.
So for new business, one of the things that I'm very passionate about, and I know we only have 4 minutes left, is making sure that if there is recognition for members of the Warwick school community, that we have a chance to highlight those. Caitlin, I don't know if any came in this month. Is there anyone on the, so we're saying, she's shaking her head no. So is there anyone on the phone or within the room who wants to recognize one of the members of our community?
Sure. I'll my daughter had Miss Horn, Lindsay Horn, in Oakland Beach because of COVID, actually for the past 3 years, and really kept us updated a lot about my daughter's growth. Really saw her strengths and who she is, and I felt pretty confident those past 3 years that my daughter was in great hands, and just had someone who knew her, all of her foibles, and and showed my daughter acceptance about who she was, and so yeah. And I think having the long relationship, those 3 years, I mean, my daughter was probably done with it after a while, but I wasn't. So just, yeah, a love of recognition for Miss Horn in Oakland Beach, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other recognitions? I have one that I'll do, but I'm gonna hold it and see if there's anyone else on the call or in the room who has recognition. Then I'm gonna do a really brief one. So I'm gonna recognize the Pilgrim High School and the Tollgate High School Unified Volleyball teams for finishing their seasons. It is really tough for, to get everyone coordinated and all the coaches there and have teachers volunteer, and then the kids are trying to practice and learn your skills all at the same time. And I think both teams did an absolutely fabulous job. So, you don't need to necessarily win them all to win at the sport that you love. So congratulations to both of them for finishing their season and enjoying themselves in the process. And with that, we're going to conclude our meeting tonight. Caitlin, what's the date for our next call?
Our next meeting is January 22nd at 6 p.m. and it will be here at the library again, but in the other room down the hall, the 113 room.
Yes,
glass
there's
windows.
a little nook. Everyone, thank you for joining us tonight in person, on the phone. Thank you for the lively discussion, all of the questions. Keep spreading the word. You're all fabulous. Have a wonderful week and a great holiday season.
Yes, happy holidays to everyone. Thank you very much for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe and happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Yeah, I'm getting you maps for Christmas.
It's the internet here, it's very slow.
Can I just ask like a question? Because
yes,
this is a little like new to me about like how to like come in. So like my obviously I have an autistic kid, so that I was able to give you some hints and level up. Like my specific things that I'm quite curious about is professional development for sure in terms of teachers. But I'm just in terms of like, are